Welcome back to the channel, everyone. We're going to finally do an updated comparison between the Samsung Galaxy S10 and the iPhone 11. Now, as you guys know, both these phones came out last year. The iPhone 11 is the newer one between these, and if you watched my last comparison, you might have seen that, okay, like not much has changed. They're both pretty much the same phones, this and that, but a lot of things have changed, not even in only terms of software, but mostly with the price as well, but mostly to do with the software. I'll be honest. The iPhone 11, started off with iOS 13. It's on iOS 13.3.1, and Apple's kind of taking their time with their updates that we've seen in the beginning with. I was kind of optimistic about their updates. I thought they were going to be a lot more, on time, but they haven't released an update in a long time, so I guess we're going to see what happens. But with the Samsung Galaxy S10, we have gotten that newer version of software. We got One UI 2 on Android 10, and I'm pretty happy with it. It wasn't like a crazy huge mind-boggling update. They didn't change everything from the bottom up, but they did bring a cool amount of features, two of them that I really like: dark mode and gestures. Those two things that Apple has kind of had since iOS 13, but now they have ported over to the Galaxy S10 in a way. So those are pretty much the bigger changes that we've seen since the phone's release. So with that being said, let's go ahead and look at them. Now, one thing I will say about the price: the iPhone 11 does still cost about that $700 on Amazon. They're still going for that price, so that price tag hasn't really depreciated at all. So from day one to now, it's pretty much the same price. However, the Samsung Galaxy S10 has seen an insane amounts of depreciation. It's literally crazy. It started off with that almost like $1,000 price tag, was like $899. Now this thing has gotten down on Amazon to about $400. It's about like $410 to be honest, and that's an insane amount of depreciation to see on a phone like this. Like, it's not a bad phone, it's still very capable. It's just, I think a lot of people were able to get them cheap and they were able to resell them, and the price kept going down, and now this phone is less than half the cost of what it was last year, and it's only a year old, which is insane. So if you want to pick up either of these phones, the iPhone 11 for $700 or the S10 for around $400, I'll leave those links down in the description. You can pick them up from Amazon and help support the channel at the same time. But looking on the front of both phones, the iPhone 11 has that 6.1-inch liquid retina IPS panel. It is 828 by 1792, and I think it's a okay panel. I think it's a good panel. Okay, I take that back. I think it's a good panel, but when you look at what the competitors are doing, not only with the screen resolutions, all that, but with the refresh rates, I think the screen's panel is going to, feel very dated in a little bit of time, including with the S10 and even the 11 Pro and 11 Pro Max. We're kind of getting into this day and age where the screens are becoming more and more important. And with the iPhone 11, I feel like this year the resolution is definitely going to go up based off the rumors that we're seeing. So this is the last time we're going to see a panel like this, I feel like. But I think the panel is good, it's good enough. But when you compare it to something like an S10, it definitely doesn't, do its justice for sure. The Samsung Galaxy S10 has a 6.1-inch 1440p panel, and that one is a dynamic AMOLED display. And what I can tell you about that panel, it's such a good display. If you pick it up, you're going to feel like you have a great display on this phone. Yeah, there might be some advantages for the iPhone 11, maybe, I don't know, but the S10's display is very great. However, one thing I will say, and I have to at least say one caveat to this: the screen sensitivity on the S10 is just so high. With the iPhone 11, even if I randomly touch the screen by accident or palm rejection, whatever, it can tell when I want to touch it and when I don't want to touch it. The palm rejection on this thing is very great. With the S10, it's like even if I don't even tap anything, it'll just randomly tap it. So the screen is just way too sensitive on the S10, and hopefully I can turn that off or turn it down. I just never really feel like it. But based on default, I shouldn't have to do that, just to have this phone working. It's just too sensitive. But the screen itself looks very nice. You have that Infinity O display. The iPhone 11, we do have the notch and just quite a bit of bezel around it. But in terms of the way they look, the Samsung Galaxy S10 definitely looks like a much better phone on the front. We have USB Type-C on the bottom of the S10, a lightning port on the iPhone 11, a headphone jack on the S10 though. That is a pretty big deal. A lot of people might not even remember that, but dude, the headphone jack was something that a lot of people were, didn't want to update to a newer phone because of that. But now the S10 still has the capability. On the back, glass backs on both. The S10 does have a triple camera setup, where the iPhone 11 has a dual camera setup, and between both they do, very well, and I'll talk about the cameras more in detail, but like I've stated before, as long as you have a dual camera setup, then you're pretty much set for the future. The Galaxy S10 also has a really cool feature, actually two cool features. So the S10 has the micro SD card slot, which is a really cool thing. I love having that in a phone, and if you can expand the storage, that's one just huge reason to pick up an S10 over the iPhone 11. But the other thing is on the front, you have that inbuilt fingerprint sensor in the display. With the iPhone 11 does not have a fingerprint sensor on it. They both have face unlock recognition, and iPhone 11 is much better with Face ID. The Galaxy S10 has that inbuilt fingerprint sensor in the display, which I really do like. So in terms of the outside, that really pretty much covers it. I hit on the outside like crazy today. They both have IP certification and everything, but moving on to the software, the iPhone 11 started off with iOS 13. It is now on iOS 13.3.1. On the Galaxy S10 side, it started off with Android Pie, and now we are on Android 10 with One UI 2. And I think both softwares are great. There's really nothing that makes me want to say one over the other, but I'm more of an iOS guy for sure. So me personally, I would probably pick iOS, but you might be Android. But what I will say is that with One UI 2, those two things that I mentioned early on, dark mode, which I don't really care about too much, but that gestures, that has made this phone feel like a flagship again. It just made it feel so much better. That old outdated design of constantly clicking the buttons with the nav bar was something I really didn't like. But now with Android 10, they eventually changed it, and now we're on Android 11, which is so funny. This thing just got Android 10, and now we're on Android 11. But really, without a doubt, I definitely do like One UI 2, and it's still not perfect. I like iOS more, but I do like that gesture-based design for sure. However, in the longevity of these things, obviously the iPhone 11 will definitely last you much longer in terms of software support than the Samsung Galaxy S10. It's not an end-all be-all though. It's not like, you're going to, feel like you have a super outdated phone, but definitely for sure the iPhone 11 will get multiple more versions of years of support from Apple than the Samsung Galaxy S10 will from Samsung. So it's not an end-all be-all, but it is something to kind of keep it in mind while you're, getting a phone like this. So in terms of software, that pretty much covers it. Now hitting on the performance, the iPhone 11 started off with the Apple A13 Bionic chip, a hexa-core CPU, and there's 3 different models, a 64, 128, and 256GB models, and all those models have 4GB of RAM, where the Samsung Galaxy S10 has a Qualcomm Snapdragon 855 chipset, an octa-core CPU, and Adreno 640 GPU, and there's 2 different models, a 128 and 512GB models, and all those models have 8GB of RAM. Now what I can tell you about the performances is that, as I've said before, I think the iPhone 11 might be a little bit of a faster phone. It kind of flips on back and forth between both of them. Not one isn't necessarily way faster than the other one every single time, but if I had to say it, I would probably say that the iPhone 11 might be the more consistent fast one, and I think it's just an overall smoother experience as well. When I'm using my S10 on One UI 2, it just feels like it's a little choppy here and there. It doesn't feel like an outdated phone, it doesn't feel like a bad phone, but it just feels like a little choppy. Sometimes I would want it to do things, and it would definitely do it, but with animations like opening apps and things like that, it just kind of is a little choppy. And even with One UI 2, it's kind of still like that. I will say though, with Android 11 on my Pixel 2, it has been a phenomenal device in terms of those animations. It's really fixed those opening animations of apps. It's not as choppy and it's much more smooth, sort of like iOS. With the Samsung Galaxy S10, the One UI 2, I don't know, it's not as smooth as I would have liked it to be. It's not an end-all be-all though, like I've said, but the iPhone 11, I feel like is a smoother device. But in terms of heavy intensive gaming and all that, it's going to be fine on both. Both phones do a very good job at it. I do like that display on the Samsung Galaxy S10. It's immersive, it takes the whole entire display. You have that hole punch there, which I don't even remember, where the notch, you kind of phase it out, you kind of, don't even remember it, but when you compare them side by side, I do like the S10's display and the way it looks and when you're using it overall than the iPhone 11, but that screen sensitivity is something that I still don't like. But in terms of performance, I say it's like a 50-50 split. They both kind of have advantages for both, and I don't think one has, the way more advantages than the other one, but I'll say the iPhone 11 might be the more consistent one overall. So that pretty much covers it up in terms of the performance standpoint. Now hitting on the cameras, the iPhone 11 has a dual camera setup, a 12 megapixel wide angle lens and a 12 megapixel ultra wide sensor, where the Samsung Galaxy S10 has a triple camera setup, 12 megapixel wide, 12 megapixel telephoto, and 16 megapixel ultra wide sensor. On the front, 10 megapixel camera on the Samsung Galaxy S10, 4K at 30. On the iPhone 11, 12 megapixel, but you can do 4K at 60, which is pretty insane. So that's a huge advantage over the iPhone 11, over the S10, if that makes any sense. On that back camera though, quality I think might be better on the S10. Audio quality is better on the iPhone 11. I think video quality is better on the iPhone 11 as well. And not much has changed since the first comparison in the cameras. There's still very good cameras for sure. The S10 does have that additional telephoto lens though, which, some people might like, some people might not, but you have that capability on the S10, which kind of makes me favor that phone over the iPhone 11 just based off the amount of camera sensors that it has. Because quality is one thing and I like quality, but the additional hardware and the additional features that you have for a phone like that only increase when you have something that has additional camera sensors. So in terms of that, I'll probably give the edge to the Samsung Galaxy S10, but the iPhone 11 is right there next to it. It's not by much. Now ending it off with the battery life, the Samsung Galaxy S10 has a 3400 mAh battery, the iPhone 11 has a 3110 mAh battery, and the Samsung Galaxy S10 has a very cool feature of reverse wireless charging where you can easily go, charge a phone from it, without even having to think about it. You can charge an iPhone 11 from this phone, but not vice versa. And I think the iPhone 11 has a lot going for it as well. If you really want to do anything with it, it'll handle it. It's not a bad device at all in terms of that. And I do think as a whole, maybe the iPhone 11 is the better battery life, so keep that in mind. I think the iPhone 11 has a better battery life, but the Samsung Galaxy S10 with that reverse wireless charging is just an additional feature, and I do like that one a lot. So even though the iPhone 11 has a better battery life, in terms of battery features, the Samsung Galaxy S10 might win in that case. So kind of take it as you will. I think the iPhone 11 probably is the one more people are going to use more. So kind of keep that in mind while you're going through it. But to kind of end off the video and just answer the question, should you pick up the Samsung Galaxy S10 or should you pick up an iPhone 11? In my opinion, I would probably pick up a Samsung Galaxy S10 for that price tag because it's cheaper. And if I didn't have a bias or iOS or Android, I might have to pick up a Galaxy S10. I feel like you're getting a better price for value and you're getting a better phone overall than the iPhone 11. But I still think the iPhone 11 has a ton going for it and it has so much going for it, like it's not even funny. It has so much life left in it, and if I were you, I would probably pick up an iPhone 11 if you're biased towards iOS or if you have an unlimited budget. But I think both phones have their strong suits, and I don't think one wins over the other one by a lot. That's my take on it, that's my advice. If you want to pick up either of these phones, like I said, links are down in the description. You can get them from there on Amazon. But that is pretty much it. If you guys have any other questions or anything, let me know in the comment section below. Hit that like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. Every single subscriber that we get really does count, so it means so much if you guys could hit that. Also check out the other links down in the description as well. My Twitter, my Instagram, my second channel, all those things are linked down below. I'd really appreciate if you guys to check it out. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.